All right, welcome. I'm super excited to be here with Florian from Spooklight.
Thank you
And
for receiving us.
yes, definitely. And I can't wait to hear more. My interest really was piqued from the Storyfab app and just really seeing where you guys are going. I'm really intrigued by the website right now that just says coming soon because I'm like, what does that mean? What's going to happen? And I'm super excited. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us, what you do and what Spooklight is all about.
Sure. So I'm Florian. I'm 30 years old. I'm the CEO of Spooklight Studio. We're a Geneva-based company in Switzerland, and we focus on creating new magical reality, basically. So our main goal is to work on mixed reality platforms and basically invent what are the product of those platforms are going to be, and how are we going to manage creating solutions for 2D screens, which is basically what we're doing today in everything that is digital, to creating solution for a 3D environment where pixels have basically left the screen of the users and is all around the user. And the way we do that is we create and we design products for those future devices, so HoloLens and other mixed reality devices that are they're just arriving on the market right now. They're just the first generation of devices. They don't have any user base, and they're very basic in terms of user experience, in terms of technology, compared to what they can become. So instead of focusing only on those devices, we design the experiences for those devices, and then we bring those experiences back to the platforms that users have today and they use today, like mobile phones. And then we put those products in their hands and try to learn as much as how they're going to interact with mixed reality, try to get as much knowledge on how it's going to work in order to get like a big advance in this field for the day that those platforms are really mainstream. It's also a way for us to basically bring a user base that we can bring to those new platform with us.
Yeah, I think for me, I hear a lot, of course, I was very intrigued with HoloLens a few years ago when Microsoft was talking about it and all of their ads, watching, playing around with the HTC Vive a little bit, and just seeing I have never played with Oculus Rift, but essentially it's going to be the same concept. And, all these different viewers that have come out, and even, PlayStation VR, and looking ahead with gamification. But what I really am excited about is when it does come home to what we already have. And we do have mobile devices, and we do have, the tools in our classrooms to actually implement some virtual and augmented reality now. And I think that's what's so exciting, is that people are really wanting to kind of push towards those other areas. But if that does come into our classroom, it's certainly not there right now. And what I'm really excited about is what can we do today? And Storyfab ran across some things on Twitter very briefly, really hasn't gotten out there so much yet. And so I was excited to share that with our AR, VR, and EDU chat that we do every Wednesday evening. And so bringing that to teachers and showing them, to me, it's always the experience after it's already been created, which is the augmented reality. And it was like the flip. Hey, we're going to start with augmented reality to create, and then you can view it. And so that was a total change, of mind frame that we're used to. But Storyfab, how did that all come into the mix?
So yeah, as I was saying, this augmented reality, mixed reality thing, that is something that you will see develop in the next 5 years. It's really a brand new paradigm in the way we develop and we create products. As I say, it's moving from 2D screens, everything run today on 2D screens, even video games, to some glasses that magically blend your digital experience with your environment. And when we started the company, so 14 months ago, we thought, so we really wanted to work in that field, and we wanted to become recognized as like a content producer in that field. And we thought, okay, let's find a product that can have a unique value using augmented reality. And we started defining the concept behind Storyfab. And the idea behind Storyfab is we want anyone to be able to produce animation movie. So we started with augmented reality pure augmented reality. So you set up a scene, you put some virtual actors, you can give orders to them. So what you're going to do inside the scene, then you can make your different camera angle, and you can record your voice over the movie. You can export and you can share with your friends. So I mean, it's something that was never done before. There is no way you can today create something as flexible as you can do in Storyfab in such a small amount of time, using so little tools. Today, animation is something very complicated that very few people can do. And augmented reality in that case was very interesting for us for different reasons. The first reason was like, when you use your environment as the decor, then you can use it in your story. So you can use virtual characters and it can add something. But it's also a way to interact very naturally with a 3D environment. Because today in a video game, when you move inside a 3D environment, you use a controller to move inside it. And that is not something very intuitive compared to having something that appears magically inside in front of your face, and you just have to move around and explore your scene and select your characters. It's very easy. So that's how the idea came upon us.
It's pretty awesome. I played around with it for just a little while. For our chat, I tried to create some different videos just to introduce, but and made fun of some of the folks that join us every week. And we always have a lot of fun in that group. But you know, in our Voxer group, we actually have kind of a back channel of where we collaborate and communicate about AR and VR and education, and had a chance to kind of just chat about Storyfab. And I think you're right. The idea of animation, you know, there's tools out there where we can create videos, but it hasn't given us the flexibility with augmented reality as well. And like you said, mixed reality coming into the mix, you know, and that's a game changer. And what is that going to look like for our classrooms? So with that in mind, so I know, you know, I'm excited to learn about AR and VR from the entertainment and gaming world, but really my emphasis has always been, of course, how it's going to be used in the educational realm. And so,
yeah. And I think that's very interesting, and education is one of our major stream in Spooklight, and particularly for that product for Storyfab. And we've started. I mean, the company is pretty new, the product is pretty new, and we've been starting to look around and find all the people that could help us, because obviously we come from the gaming industry. But we're very interested in the education industry, and we thought that the potential of using Storyfab in an education environment is like tremendous. And there is a lot of different ways to do it. I think even the today's product can already be used in an education environment. And there were a lot of examples in your chat on Twitter. It was really interesting to see all those people thinking about the things we're trying to do right now. But there is also so much more to do, because, as I said, you have to imagine today's Storyfab is a product that was designed to work on mixed reality devices. And those devices, they're going to get to classrooms, because, I mean, you're basically teaching a generation of students that will end up creating all this content that will redefine the world. And when I'm talking about mixed reality, I'm very passionate, because I think it will change pretty much every industry that we know. It's not about gaming, it's not about entertainment compared to VR. VR is very restricted in terms of use case, but mixed reality is something that everyone will use every day in the next few years. And children too. And more interesting for children, a big part of them, or a part of them, that are going to do the same thing that we do, go work in tech and so on. They're going to create content for those platforms, and not only apps and products, but also 3D content. I mean, 3D, being able to create and think in 3D and create things like 10 years ago or more, depending the countries, you had some classroom where you used to learn to create things in 3D, like doing, I don't know, I said that in English, pottery, for example, creating object in 3D. We don't do that anymore. We've been trained to do things in 2D. We use, like, some classroom, we use computers with keyboard, and we draw in 2D. We don't know how to do anything in 3D. And I think people will have to learn that skill, and it's going to change a lot of things in the way we teach people. It will enable also a lot of new way to teach people.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like we're seeing this 3D printing world also collide, because the design and graphics that are created there are then in turn being incorporated in AR, VR, and MR. And so I'd absolutely see like that collision happening for the first time, and starting to see the aha moment for why it's important for our kids to know, not just for printing, but really for future of interaction, even social media and gaming and entertainment. And so that's absolutely right. And that's one of the things that the teachers really liked. The educators were super excited about the creation feature, because there's a lot that we have out there that we can consume and we can watch and we can experience. But when it comes down to actually having our students design something using AR, VR, or MR, that's far and few between. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with Storyfab. But now I'm really excited to see, what is the future of Spooklight? Like, what are these things that are going to be coming down the pipeline that you can share with us without giving away any secrets?
Yeah, it's a good question about not giving away any secrets. But so we have we like today Storyfab is the main product that focus on the education.
Mm-hmm.
We have gaming's product that focus more on proof of concepts in terms of the approach we have, the approach that described to design for a new platform and then bring it back to devices. So we have a game that will touch football fans,
Mm-hmm.
soccer fans for
Oh,
the
yeah.
American ones. And we have another very interesting product that is a messaging product. And it basically it builds on everything we learn about Storyfab and the different way it can be used. And one way we imagined Storyfab was using it to basically send messages to people.
Mm-hmm.
And what we saw, it was the way we did it was very, very adapted to creating movies, but not quick messages. People didn't want to spend like a few minutes doing one messages. So we have a what we call an augmented reality video messaging tool that enable you to like create your own avatar that represent you, that you can put very, very fast in your environment, and you can choose which mood is going to take, and just like in a few seconds make a video that say where you are, what you're doing, and something about your mood. It's like emojis plus
Yeah,
plus
I was
plus plus
gonna
plus plus
say
plus.
that's like taking emojis to a whole new level. But how many? I mean, look at our GIFs and look at our emojis that we're constantly putting out there. We want to share those emotions without actually having to say it. And what a cool way to do that is incorporating augmented reality. That'd be awesome.
And once again, this is the vision is like what we were thinking about, that is like the day you're going to wear those glasses that looks like glasses like that, you're not going to be able to film your face, because I mean the camera is on the device, it's not on your phone anymore.
Right.
So you're not going to, most of the time you're not going to show your face, but you will want to show your context to the people, like what you're doing. And but it's something very boring to just show like the beach and hear the voice of the guy at the beach. So you want like an actor in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your avatar, and this avatar, it should do basically what you're doing right now. So you should understand what you're saying with your voice and kind of reproduce the same action. So it's, I mean, we have a lot of R&D projects where we, for example, we create our own little movies just based on what you say during your message. Mm-hmm. And create a little scene that you can send to your friends as a message.
That's pretty awesome.
This is something coming very, very soon.
Will it be any location based? So I thought I remember you saying that at the beginning, or is that just wishful thinking? So maybe they get the messages based on where they're located, or will it just be sent kind of messaging as normal?
I mean, the I cannot say too much about it, but the goal is the goal is to contextualize the message, and there is a lot of way, obviously, to contextualize the message. It can be about location. It can be. I mean, you've seen Snapchat doing a lot of interesting stuff in the recent years, and we just think that, you know, with the world we came up with the Moody's and and the augmented reality, they were just a potential that we had to do just and it was a very quick project, but we think it can be a huge success because once we started using it, we really started to have fun, like sending each other a lot of those moodies during our environment. So I'm going out with friends and I put my moodies inside like my glass of wine and I send that to my friends and they instantly know that I'm out having fun and drinking wine.
Yeah.
So
Can you
it's
guys
it's a fun
customize
project.
one of those Moody's? So I know that there's lots of customizations inside of Storyfab, but I'm wondering, do you guys have any like really big hats and like big glasses that I can add to my own? Or that's
We have a lot of customization, and in
yeah.
iMessage, in our message app, there will be even more customization because the customization, like here, is like the main thing is being able to make avatars of yourself the way you want to represent yourself. Also, an interesting features is every time you exchange messages with someone, you basically exchange your avatar with it, so they can use your message to send another message. So they can create a scene where I don't know, they're mad at you and they want to slap your face. They will slap your avatar face in a message, and they won't have to create that avatar.
Right.
Just going to represent yourself, and all your friends will have access to
That is
the
so
same
cool.
avatar that you're using.
Oh, our kids
I
are going
mean,
to be all over that.
it's less serious. Definitely less about education. We have less idea how to use that in an education context. But yeah, it was such a fun way to start messaging each other in the company that we thought that we had to make something real about it.
Absolutely. That's pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I think we'll have a lot of fun with that one in our kind of back channel groups that we collaborate in. Well, is there anything that you want to share with educators as far as how Storyfab, maybe that we didn't think about, something that we can apply or kind of look to the future with?
I think it's more today is more it's the opposite conversation we want to have. We want to have conversation with educators on how they see using that tool with their classroom and what they miss in using that tool and what do they see. Because we have a lot of direction we can head with Storyfab. There was an interesting point you said before that you had a lot of resources for your students to consume content, but not a lot of resources for them to produce content. And it's interesting because it makes me think about another project we have that for now we're still thinking around the idea. The idea was to use what we have with Storyfab today to let educators create what we call non-linear content. So you create your film basically the way you use today. The only difference is you don't have to have like a linear story. You can have stories where you have choices. So you have like first introduction of the movie, and then you have a first choice. And then you have to define what happens if the student select A, what happens if he selects B, and then you have another choice and so on. So you can create a tree of different choices that the student can explore. And the thing was, to enable any educators to create their own content that is interactive, and then they can broadcast to any students. They can put that on the marketplace for free for all students or to their classroom, and then the students can consume that media and interact in a way of learning something. And it's very interesting in terms of for example, role playing, where you can put someone in the shoes of like a character and say, would you do if that happens? Do you do choice A or do you do choice B? And to show when you're doing like when you're taking like some action, when you're taking like a choice, what are the consequences linked to that choice? And so that is, for example, one project that we thought about, but it kind of works in the opposite direction that you were saying, that students need not to consume more media, but to create more mediums. So that we want to have those conversations.
And I don't know if this is even possible, but oftentimes with augmented reality, we're scanning kind of our trigger image to have this experience, right? I actually expected that with Storyfab. It took me by surprise that wasn't the end result. So I'm creating this using augmented reality, but why can't I watch by just having that trigger image. Instead of somebody sending it to me, I could put out that image. They have the app, they can scan that and see my story. And then they can look from different angles and see what's happening based upon, you know, what that looks like. But I don't even know if that's even possible, but you know, is that something?
It's possible. The reason why we didn't do that is once we didn't want augmented reality to be a gimmick in Storyfab.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, the big use of augmented reality was being able to use your environment as something that brings something to the story. So
Sure. That makes sense.
you have like I don't know, you posted some pictures,
I did. It was from my
some videos,
computer screen.
and
Yeah.
I want, you know, those pictures to bring something to the story or your environment, because you're doing a story about Christmas and you filmed it next to your Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just like remove that context and let like be able to put on any kind of markers, just an image, then you kind of remove that interesting decor, that interesting creative process that is including your environment in what your stories is saying. And but we've also been like tinkering and having fun with other modes. There is another mode today in Storyfab that you can just use a 3D environment. It's a 3D scene,
Mm-hmm.
full 3D, so there's no augmented reality, but you use the same technology that we use for augmented reality to navigate inside that scene. And that is very interesting because it's a new way to interact with a 3D environment that was not done before. And for us, it was interesting to see the different way how people use that.
Mm-hmm. So last two things that I just have a question about. One is there a place that we can see kind of a compilation of all these great, you know, videos that are being created? Is there a place that this is being housed? And
No,
then,
I mean,
okay.
today what we do is we tell user, send us your content,
Yeah.
and we will showcase the best content that we see.
Gotcha.
When you launch the app, there is a feed, and today is a feed that we entirely manage ourselves. So we basically put our production. So every production you see on that page, they've been made with the app. So it just give you a benchmark of what you can do when you know how to use the app,
Mm-hmm.
the way we do as like creating the app. And then we want the goal, the end goal is to enable people to create their content and then to be able to build the community around it to share that content.
Mm-hmm.
But we felt as a startup, we felt that it was more important at first to validate that people were actually creating content before creating the community around it to share it. Because if you have a beautiful community to share it, but you have no content created, then you have a problem. And for now, we haven't seen the results we that justify yet creating that community.
Okay.
And because for a simple reason, until now, we've been focused on bringing that product to market. We had very limited new users every day because we had voluntarily set up very limited campaigns to acquire users. And we just recently, last month, decided that it was time, the product was mature enough that we could confront it at a much bigger scale with the market. So that's why right now we're pushing a lot, like to put the word out that Storyfab is here and to see what people do with it. And if we have good results about the content that are created, really the goal is to create that community. I mean, it's not a coincidence that this first page looks like a feed, because it's made to be a feed where you can share your content with your friends, with the people you follow, where you can like content, when you can add comments. It's really made for that. Just the features is not implemented yet, but it's made for that.
Absolutely. Well, my last question is, where can teachers, so you want to communicate and find out how it's being used, how should they get in touch with you guys, or how can they connect with you as far as what's going on? Is Twitter the best way?
So Twitter is today the best way. We have someone that just joined us, Joel, that you interacted with, that is focusing on like bringing all those conversations together. And obviously as soon as we see people that want to help and everything, first thing we do is contact them by email and start a conversation. I mean, the idea is to kind of develop those tests where we can have first those conversation about what the people say and kind of give us like ideas on what we should do, like to improve our product for
Uh-huh.
educators, and then to work with a teacher in particular, like one-to-one, in like creating the experience, just like testing the experience without having to develop everything and change completely the product, but do it like do a film with a teacher or do an experience with a classroom, and then see how it evolves and what the results. In for example, that's also why in our in our advisory board of the company, we have like PhD teacher that focus on those new way of teaching,
Mhm.
and she joined us exclusively to work on Storyfab, on how to use that in the education world.
Very cool. Yeah, this is awesome. Well, I thank you so much for joining in and sharing about what's happening. And I can't wait to see as this grows and how we can, get involved and support and continue to push that out. We're really excited about it.
And we're really excited to see how your community and how teacher passionate about edtech are going to try use that technology in their classroom, and the kind of feedback they can give us so we can improve our product. Because as I say, it's very important for us to like be a major actors in that edtech sector, because I think there's like tremendous opportunity, tremendous improvement, and things we can bring to the students to help them learn any kind of topics. And
Absolutely.
Storyfab is great for that.
All right. Well, thank you so much
Thank you for
again.
having me.
All right. Bye-bye.